You guys are in trouble now. I hope you guys find everything I say this evening according to God's Word. And if there are any questions or concerns, please find me afterward. Tonight's lesson will be on things we take for granted. Maybe my first question should have been how to work quicker. I know all of you guys probably have a really broad list of things we all take for granted in day-to-day life. But here's some of the thoughts I've reflected on over the past few weeks. First and foremost, you guys will never take Brandon for granted again when he comes back next week. We're very excited. Very excited. If you turn to Exodus chapter, if I could talk, Exodus chapter 16, verse 31. We're going to talk a whole lot about food this evening, so I hope I don't lose you. I'm sure everybody remembers manna when the Israelites were in the wilderness. The manna that fell from heaven, and that was their food. They didn't have to work for the manna, they didn't have to plan out their day around the manna, they didn't have to pay for the manna, they didn't have to water the manna. All they had to do was follow God's word and eat the manna. That's all they had to do. Verse 31. And the house of Israel called his name manna. It was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made of honey. And I don't know about you guys, but that sounds awesome. But if it fell from heaven, they didn't have to work for it. And it was referred to as wafer made of honey. But if we go on, this great thing, the Israelites start to take granted of. If you go to Numbers chapter 21, verse 5, just a few books later. Verse 5 says, And the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and no water. And our soul loathes this worthless bread. So the first section of that verse said there is no food and no water. And then they go on and say, we have this bread, but it is worthless. We don't want this bread. Or, as we would probably say nowadays, I don't want this bread. I'm tired of it. I'm sure everybody in this room has ate something 2 or 3 times over the course of a day or two, and you don't want it anymore. I'm that way with pizza. But if you go on to Psalms chapter 78, verse 23. Yet he had commanded the clouds above and opened the doors of heaven, had rained down manna on them to eat, and given them of the bread of heaven. Men ate angels' food. He sent them food to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heavens, and by his power, he brought in the south wind. He also rained meat on them like the dust, fed their fowl like the sand of the seas. And he let them fall in the midst of their camp, all around their dwellings, so they ate and they were well filled. For he gave them their own desire. They were not deprived of their craving. But while their food was still in their mouths, the wrath of God came against them and slew the stoutest of them, and struck down the choice men of Israel. In spite of this, they still sinned and did not believe in his wondrous works. So in short, what had happened here is the Israelites said, well, we're tired of this bread. We also want a little meat. So not only did they get the manna, they also got quail. And then after this, God delivered both. And then after they ate, God basically struck the fattest of them down, which had been all the complaints. And then they went on, and they still were ungrateful for that after all this, even after he had the quail. And if you look, then that text you just wrote, just read, sorry, is referred to as corn of heaven in some versions. So they had taken their food for granted. And here I have some verses listed where Jesus had gave thanks before he had ate. I won't make you turn to all of them. You can turn to if you like. In Matthew chapter 15, verse 36, and he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. Matthew chapter 26, verse 27. Then he took the cup, and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you. Mark chapter 8, verse 6. So he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and gave thanks, broke them, and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And they set them before the multitude. Mark chapter 14, verse 23. Then he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them. And they all drank from it. Luke 22, verse 17. Then he took the cup, and gave thanks, and said, take this, and divide it among yourselves. Luke chapter 2, verse 19. And he took the bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, this is my body, which is given to you. Do this in remembrance of me. John 6, verse 11. Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to the disciples, and the disciples lifted them down, and likewise the fish, as much as they wanted. John 6:23. However, other folks, they came to Tiberias. There's a place where they ate bread after the Lord had given thanks. 1 Corinthians 11:24. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. So if you look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 instances where the Lord had given thanks each time before he ate. To get you off food for a little bit, we're going to talk about Solomon. So turn to Genesis chapter 13. Genesis chapter 13, verse 10. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go towards the Lord. So if you're reading, a lot of times when you hear Sodom and Gomorrah, we think of an ugly place with ugly sin and wicked people. Before all this, it was well watered everywhere, and it was compared like the garden of the Lord. But as we go on, as we all know, wicked people change things. And if you turn to Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49. And I hope you guys are quicker than the iniquity of your sister Sodom. She and her daughter had pride, fullness of food, and abundance of idols. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. If we go on to verse 50, and they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw fit. So now Sodom is filled with sin. They've done terrible things before the Lord. And if you look, there's a big word, pride, in there. In the end, pride got in the way and destroyed this, what used to be a beautiful city, where it's compared to the Garden of God. And oftentimes when I think of Sodom, I wind up thinking of a city such as Las Vegas. Las Vegas, I'm sure, as we all know, didn't start like Las Vegas is today. It started with just people in a town, all making a living. You know, men were married to women, they had children, they had normal jobs, they were happy, they were grateful for what they had. And then wicked people had come along, and as we all know, wicked people don't build successful things, they just destroy it. So, this is kind of what happened in Sodom. I see it similar to Las Vegas. But ultimately, in the end, what had happened was is they weren't satisfied. They had all these things they were happy with. They all had things such as good jobs, good families, happy life, and good quality. And then they wanted more. They weren't happy enough, so they had to take it to the next step, and that led them down the wrong path. Next is a list of simple things we probably take for granted pretty often. But first, if we turn to Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Verse 5 says, "Let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave nor forsake you." So as long as we're happy with what we have, we don't covet others' things, God will always be with us. And that's a pretty large thing in life. If you would, go ahead and turn to Job chapter 1. I know it's not on the board, but I'm getting a little sidetracked. Job chapter 1, verse 20 and 21. And this is the story of Job when he got everything taken away from him. Then Job arose, tore his robe, and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So at the time, Job had nothing. He had all these things taken away from him. He had went through all these trials and all these tests, and yet he was still faithful to the Lord. But as we go on, I don't know how many people are out there thinking, man, my house is okay. It's got air conditioning. Now, Charlie's house. Charlie doesn't know what he's got. I mean, I'm in Charlie's house. I don't know if anybody's ever been out of the country, but like a third world country. But I'm sure most of you, like me, have seen pictures online of these small houses that are about the size of probably our living rooms. They're not very big. We ought to give thanks for what we have because we have it way better than other people. And not to mention, I've been to most other people's houses here too. Despite the fact that I think everybody has a pretty messy house, we have a lot to be thankful for. Same thing with cars. Well, I may not have that 2020 model like I've always wanted. One day I'm going to have it. Until then, I'm just going to keep working on it. I think everybody's done their goal and they'll have their first kid. Well, I just have to have an minivan or an SUV. I know several people, most of them I work with, they've got 2 or 3 kids and they've still got their 1990s model Honda with no back doors. They're lifting them over the back seat, putting them in. But that's something we ought to be thankful for. It's a luxury. Our vehicles that transport children around. Granted, it's nice you can have it. That's not something we should take for granted. Same thing with our spouses. If you go and turn over to Ephesians chapter 5. Verse 25 says, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her." Another one I hear a lot is, my husband he just doesn't work enough. He's not a very good provider. Not here, but I hear it. And then, likewise, I'm sure most of you guys have heard too, then there's the other side. My husband works way too much and he's never home. He's given us everything we want. We have all these nice things, but we never see him. He's never around for kids. And I want to ask for a show of hands how many mothers in here have said that. I won't do that to you. But there's always the other side. We ought to give thanks for what we have. Because odds are, if your significant other isn't at home a lot, they're a really good provider. Or maybe if they're not a good provider, they're probably there with your kids a lot more, so you don't have to be, right? And it's the same thing with the husbands giving thanks for the wives. And let's start the background of food one last time. Turn over the book of Proverbs with me. Chapter 27, verse 7. A satisfied soul loathes the honeycomb, but to a hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. I don't know if anybody's gone 2 or 3 days without eating, whether you're sick or doing a fast. But I'll tell you, once 2 or 3 days go by where you don't eat anything, I'm sure you're about like me. You're just ready for whatever's going to be dropped down in front of you. You don't care if it's something sweet, salty, if it's hot, spicy, you're probably going to eat it. And I'm not asking everybody to go and pick on the picky eaters after church and say, well, I'll tell you what, Judy, if you could just come with us and go eat a big sushi roll, then I guess you'd have listened to the lesson. I'm not asking you to go pick on the picky eaters. But we live in a world where food is not hard to come by. I don't see anybody going hungry. It's not, it's never, oh, strawberries are finally back in season. Because year-round, we bring strawberries from the southern hemisphere and have them whenever we like. many kids out there, but here's one I can finally relate to. I'll tell you guys about it. You're going through the store, and you see the toy you want, and I still do it, except now I buy it. Oh, Mom, this is the toy I really want. If you just give me this toy, I'll be quiet, I'll be happy. Well, odds are there are kids out there in other countries your age that are making these toys that would love to have the life that you live, that would love to have that toy, that would love to have your life at home, would love to go to school. So whenever you're going through the store, just think about that whenever you want to ask your mom for that toy. And also candy bars. I'm still worried about this one too. I don't know if you guys have looked at the candy bar lately. Really step back and look at it in detail. Next time you buy a candy bar, just look at it. So the flap used to be just something you used to open the candy bar. Well, now the flap is like a trifold brochure for the ingredient list. And you look, and I promise, the only ingredient you can probably pronounce on there is sugar. But I'll tell you, kids, when you walk up to the checkout aisle at Walmart, you see that candy bar. I don't care how bad that candy bar is for you, you're going to, I want it. And I know, I can already hear your parents, they're going to say, well, we have food at home. And they're right. You've got wheat bread, butter. I know you guys have a ton of snacks at home. So just be thankful for what you have at home, too. If you guys know me, you knew this was going to be short. So this is your last slide. I'm giving you just a few more minutes. You turn it over to Psalms, chapter 1. Verse 4. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving, and into his courts with praise. Be thankful to him and bless his name. I don't know if you flip to the rest of it, if you'd like to, see if you get that time. Colossians 3, verse 17. And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Hebrews 13, verse 15. Therefore, by him, let us continually offer the sacrifice of praise to God, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. 1 Thessalonians 5:18. In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. Ephesians 5:20. Giving thanks always for all things to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. In Ephesians 5:4. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor coarse jesting, which are not fitting, but rather giving thanks. So as you go throughout the rest of this week, try to think of the many things that we always take for granted, whether it be something as simple as sight or hearing, or the car in the driveway that's got a dead battery and it made you late. We had a gentleman at work here Thursday morning. He left and went off to work. He was obviously having a pretty good morning. He decided, on his motorcycle and take his motorcycle to work, which he did often. But what we often take for granted whenever we get in that car with a flat tire, a dead battery, and it makes us 5 minutes late, is that gentleman that left on the motorcycle that morning didn't make it to work. We ought to think about the air conditioning we're sitting in, the bed we sleep in at night, that pesky alarm clock that wakes us up in the morning, or even that annoying neighbor across the street. Because odds are, if you had it any different, you'd look back and say, man, I had it pretty good back then. I just didn't realize it. With that being said, I'll extend the invitation that if anybody needs the prayers and support of the congregation, You always come forward if you stand and sing, or you can always reach out to somebody on an individual basis. We're all here to support each other and help each other make it through life the best we can. If we can help anybody, please come forward as we stand and sing.
With my head bowed low in the darkness as black as could be, and my heart felt alone, and I cried, "Oh Lord, don't hide your face from me." Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day, from here to the grave, I know. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Like a king I may live in a palace so tall, with great riches to call my own. But I don't know a thing in this whole wide world that's worse than being alone. Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day, from here to the grave, I know. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone.
Lord's table within that prayer, for those who didn't have an opportunity to take it this morning, if you would please raise your hand and stand, and I'll serve you this day. Is there anyone who would like to give this time?
For the Lord, prayer 128, 128. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to Thee. Take my hands and let them move. Let me
God, we thank you so much for this beautiful day you blessed us with. We thank you for the opportunity to come together to worship you throughout the day, to study your word, to be brought to two valuable lessons today. We thank you so much for the willingness of Ronnie this morning and Aaron this evening to bring these lessons. Father, we thank you most of all for your Son, Jesus Christ, and the opportunity for salvation through him. We thank you for the willingness to share your Son, one and only Son, and to send him here to live that perfect sinless life and to be the ultimate sacrifice. Father, we also thank you for answered prayers, such as we heard about with Eddie Lake here this morning, with clear bill of health in regards to cancer for now. We thank you so much for Katie having a healthy baby boy. Father, there's just so many things that you bless us with that, as Aaron talked about tonight, so many times we take things for granted. And I just pray that as we go throughout this week and each and every day, we do not forget that we do take time to look at what you have given us. There's things, the people you placed in our lives that we not take those for granted. And we not take your word for granted, that we not take you for granted. Father, I just pray that we would be serious about our relationship with you, and that we be serious about sharing your love with each person we come into contact with. We pray for all these things in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
He's wonderful. You don't know it. Just another day my father's girl. You would? Get up and go.
Where'd it go?